Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. In the last few days and week or so, I've been talking about, how things have radically changed and how I think that we are kind of heading into a very different and new place. I've even mentioned the 10 steps of genocide, I believe is what it's called, or something like that, different steps of genocide. And I pointed out that we've kind of completed about the first half or so of those, and that we're headed down a pretty dark path with a lot of possibilities for some pretty bad things to happen. And I don't want to speak completely out of line here and kind of blow things out of proportion, but I think today we may have started to cross the threshold of the seventh on this list. For those of you that did not know, the Justice Department announced today that they are forming a special task force unit, special unit to combat, investigate, prosecute domestic terrorists. Just saying that word on YouTube is probably going to give me some trouble. But you know what? It's time that we stop being afraid. It's time we stop being afraid to be patriotic. It's time we stop being afraid to stand up for the truth. This formation of this unit, let me just stop and kind of backstep a little bit. For those of you old enough to remember, and especially those of you that were very much awake to what goes on in the world, if you were around back in 2001 when September 11th happened, I think most of you will remember noticing, thinking, and speaking about how after September 11th, when the Patriot Act came into being, that we crossed a serious threshold in this nation, a serious threshold between freedom, between a free republic, a republic made up of free individuals, and much more of a police state. And today we're seeing that happen again. Today, the Justice Department, and they have been doing this for a while now, okay? And we have talked about it several times on this channel, where they have made public statements, and the Department of Homeland Security has issued warning threats of potential, domestic terrorists, all of which just nothing pans out. But today they've announced that they're going to have a special task force, a special unit that will investigate, arrest, combat this kind of behavior here in the United States. Now, let me make it clear. If there are people out there seeking to do harm, criminal acts, trying to make physical threats and do harmful things to people, I am always opposed to that. The problem is the political language that they are using over the past year and a half when they go to describe what they deem as a domestic terrorist. And too many times that description, it's kind of a little blurry of what they're actually talking about. They use terms like a patriotic extremist, someone that's anti-government or anti-authority. There's been lists, pointing out people that are anti-this and anti-science and anti-abortion. If you read some of the news articles today out on this new domestic terrorism unit that the Justice Department has formed, they are doing just that. They are comparing these and the people, the Americans that they deem under this, to the equal level of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations like that. Over the past year, and especially the last few weeks, we have heard a lot of people on the TV and on the internets and all over the place comparing what happened on January 6th to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. And most Americans, even if they condemn what happened on January 6th, would say, now that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, thousands of people died in both of those other incidences. Both of those other incidences were done by foreign adversaries. They were, took lots of lives. There was, millions and millions and millions of dollars of actual damage aside from the loss of life. Both of them were catastrophic, okay? And what happened on January 6th just didn't quite meet that standard. And so a lot of people have, especially folks like you that watch this channel, are like, man, this is just political. They're just trying to twist things to get sympathy and there's more to it than that, folks. Did you know that, you all know that there's been other terrorist attacks on this soil? In fact, there has been actual domestic terrorism in the United States. Why have they not compared it to, say, the Oklahoma City bombing? That was a attack by a domestic terrorist, and I'm going off of the official story. I'm not going to go down any rabbit hole of what really happened there. Based on the official story, that was certainly a domestic terrorism attack. They've not compared it to that. They've not compared it to other things like the first World Trade Center bombing. They've not compared it to the Boston bomber. They've not compared it to a lot of other, attacks to this nation that have left, loss of life or, major, damages and things like that. They've always been comparing it to those two things, 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. Do you know what's different about 9/11 and Pearl Harbor than all these other kind of domestic terrorist attacks or foreign terrorist attacks or anything like that? Those are the only two that we ended up going to war over. Think about that. And that's the two that they compare it to. Is it because they plan on using warlike tactics? It's possible. I know. I might be kind of taking some liberty with this and stretching things. But I'm only doing it based on the behaviors that we have seen thus far. I think that it's I think it's very fair to look at what's gone on over the past few years and see what they're doing now and say, you know what, this is a very slippery slope that they're going down. And there's a lot of room for this kind of power to be abused. When we've got the Attorney General refusing to really backtrack when they basically deemed all parents going to school board meetings and speaking out domestic terrorists. That's pretty serious. When a government starts speaking that way about their own citizens that have committed no crimes. There's no crimes that these parents have committed by going to a school board meeting and speaking out. And if they have, any parents that have, if there are any incidences where there are actually crimes committed, the local law enforcement has, I'm sure, done their duty and their job to take care of and investigate, arrest, and prosecute those crimes. So why paint everyone that way? Why create something new? Folks, this is again a very slippery slope that we're going down of dividing and demonizing a certain segment of our society, a group of people. In fact, a very large group of people that they deem as unfit to live in this society, unworthy, and just to the point of being criminal. And I think this is something that we should be concerned with. I understand there's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now. There's these hearings on Capitol Hill with Dr. Fakey and the stuff that's been released about that. There's a lot of stuff going on there. There really is. There's the stuff that the CDC's been backtracking on. But, folks, this is quite serious, I think. And I don't think it's getting enough airtime. I don't think enough people have really stopped and realized what's happening. That we are forming a law enforcement unit with the sole purpose of investigating American citizens that they deem unworthy, not maybe necessarily because of a violent crime that they've committed, but because of the ideology that they have. That may not be exactly what they say, but if you read the stuff that they've put out about this, it's kind of dancing around that. That they're investigating. I saw the other day that the Attorney General, when talking about the J6 stuff, he said that they were going to investigate anyone that not just was there that day and entered the Capitol that day, but anyone that was promoting it online, anyone that was pushing that ideology online about that they were going to be looking into all that too. Really? That's a crime to get online and talk about going to the U.S. Capitol. That's a crime. This is something that I've been talking about and warning about for a while, and I could be wrong. I hope I am. But it's really hard to take this any other way when we openly allow potential terrorists, and at least, if nothing else, criminals, to cross our border illegally on a daily basis and do virtually nothing about that. We pretty much knowingly take people from groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and pay their ticket, pay their flight to get them here into America as refugees out of Afghanistan, while we left American citizens in Afghanistan and hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of equipment. But yet we're so concerned, with terrorism, that we do all that, but yet we turn all of our focus on our own citizens that speak out and say things that we may not agree with, or that the government may not agree with, and investigate of really how deep down that rabbit hole they're going. I find this offensive, and I find this dangerous. Anyone out there, whether they are patriotic or not, that are committing crimes, there's BLM and Antifa, they've done things that we've all seen that they've committed crimes. Any of those crimes that could have been committed, or may be committed in the future, there's already laws on the books to take care of them. And there's already countless law enforcement agencies from local, state to federal to investigate and to prosecute them. So why do we need to form a specialized unit just to look at domestic people, to look at people that are a little too patriotic, look at people that wave a flag that we find offensive, that wear a t-shirt with a little emblem on it, or have a bumper sticker on our vehicle? And see, that's the problem I think we're going to have. I think we're going to see a lot of Americans that may have those items and get a little scared and say, man, I don't want to get investigated. And so they take them all down, they put them all away, and once again, we are defeated. And then what it does is it makes it easier to find and to point out and to do their dirty deeds to the remaining people that still fly those flags and have those bumper stickers. And my opinion is that we should all be doing that. We should all be flying those flags and "Don't Tread on Me" and bumper stickers and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And if everyone, or at least enough people that were of still that patriotic spirit, did that, it would make it a little bit harder for them to kind of track people down. Can they arrest all of us? Can they investigate all of us? This, I'm telling you folks, this is a slippery slope that we're headed down. And I think that we should all stand up and take notice of it. And realize that we're not dealing with a government that is opposed to our beliefs and our ideology. But we're dealing with a government and a system that wants to criminalize and imprison and take away our liberties just because of our ideology. That's what we're dealing with, folks. And I think more and more of the actions that they do prove that. They apparently don't have time to investigate all kinds of other crimes, the FBI and the federal government, but yet they have enough time to investigate, grandmas walking around waving a flag, or grandpa with his "Don't Tread on Me" flag, or his 3% bumper sticker on his old Ford pickup. That kind of tells you something, folks. Prepare, continue to prepare, get your house in order. Make your connections with people. Look into this more yourself. I'm only on here just on my soapbox, complaining about it. But if you got the time, look up some of the stuff that's out there. Not a whole lot, but things that they're talking about with this new domestic terrorism unit from the Justice Department. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.